Let's start with myself. My name is Mohammed Zuhair Siddiqui, and I have 12 years of experience in different technology products. So as you can see the screen, I have done different certification in AWS, CCNA, CompTIA Network Plus, Security Plus, ITIL, Linux, Autopsy, PMP prepared, and even I've given the new certification CNSS. So a lot of certification just because of the reason that it's very good that you should start learning. In lockdown, a lot of people are learning and you can advance your skill, whether that's infosec or whether that's any of the field you like, but it's very good. I have hands-on experience on different security products. I have worked for Cisco Systems, and I still give consultation for Cisco security products for Cisco partners. Especially, I have a very good deep understanding, and I'm uh, an SME for Cisco ESA, WSA, SMA appliance. These appliances are basically co-related to cybersecurity appliance of Cisco. So these appliances started like back in like a decades back. So Cisco is, it's very advanced. Same goes for Palo Alto. I work for Palo Alto as well, and that's basically cybersecurity products. Palo Alto Pen OS is very important, and you should have a better understanding of how the cybersecurity works in this era. I worked for different Linux products as well, Windows. I started my career with the Windows, first of all. This is important. SolarWind, PRTG, Palo Alto checkpoints, and different technologies. Myself, I have a vast experience in security products because security is one of the key topic that I normally teach and train people in quick start. And the reason is that because security in anyhow in whether whatever the network is, so the security is very important in any network. So before some time back, like 10 decades back, there were simple firewall, guys. There were no they were the port-based firewalls. But now, as we are moving forward, we have lot of advanced firewalls. Next generation firewalls are there, whether that's Cisco, whether it's Palo Alto, whether that's any of different type of the firewall, checkpoint or Fortinet. So firewalls are advanced now, and even the security regarding web, because a decade back there was no cloud, but now as we are moving forward, so mostly the network will move toward cloud. The hybrid environment would be there. So you require security, you require cybersecurity. So new type of firewalls are required, new type of SaaS protection, that is software as a service. So you require, for example, if you are using Salesforce, so how you can protect your local environment with the Salesforce. So a lot of security and threats are there. So that's why this is one of the key learning topics these days. And I normally tell my students, tell my colleagues, everyone, whoever comes to trainings, that this is the future would be cybersecurity, and there will be a lot of job in this. So okay, cybersecurity basics. The core topic today, I will be teaching a bit understanding about the information security, types of hackers, social engineering attacks, virus, worm, Trojan horses. So these are the basic pillars whenever you are starting your career with the cybersecurity. So you should have a better understanding about these products. So information security. First thing, these are the three attributes of any of the information security. Whenever you are creating any network, whenever you are installing anything, so first of all, as a security analyst, as a security person, the most important job for you is to prevent your network with any of the threat, any of the breach of security. So that is the prevention. The prevention is very important because why we are using firewalls, why are we using email security appliances, web security appliances, why are we using AMP endpoints? Just because to prevent our network from any of the threat. If there is any threat, if anything, so the first thing, the firewall, the DMZ, is a demilitarized zone. Over there we have a firewall. The firewall will stop any of the threats coming from internet. So the first pillar is prevention. You need to prevent your network from any type of threats. First thing is this. Second thing is detection. Like if somehow if something comes in and it's like there's a breach of security, there are some zero day attacks are there. Like zero day attacks are those attacks in which even the developer doesn't know that whether this attack would be there or not, or whether there is any loophole or any vulnerability in any software is there. So that's unknown attack, that's not known to the developer, that's not known to anyone. So but that is known to the attacker, so that is known as a zero day attack. For example, there was a zero day attack and the breach was there. So now your firewall or your IPS, intrusion prevention system, detection system, would detect that okay, there was an issue and that breach the security, but now that attack was, that breach was, that threat was being detected. So that is known as detection. Lastly is the recovery. Recovery is again important because we have a lot of options in disaster recovery. Like you can create simple rate system, you can have lot of recovery. For example, you have an hybrid environment, few of your hardware devices are basically on-prem and some are towards the cloud. So recovery is an option, like how quick your network will recover from this disaster. So this is known as a recovery. For example, this something also known as mean time to failure, mean time to recover. So normally when we are calculating any of the risk, so we just check like how quick we can recover our network. So that is known as recovery. So prevention, detection, recovery. Prevention is like firewalls are there, detection again firewalls, or your SIM is there, SIEM SIMs are there to detect, to tell you the flow chart like there was a detection over here, or the IPS, intrusion prevention systems or detection systems detecting any of the threat. And recovery finally, like if there was a threat and there was a damage, if there was some issue with the network, so that could be that could be basically recover. Any data loss was there, so that could be recovered. Another thing comes with the assets. Assets, liabilities. So assets can be tangible, can be intangible. So tangible assets are, for example, vehicle, your laptop, your wireless mouse, or your any of the hardware device that is there that can be touched, that is known as the tangible. And now intangible, for example, your company values, your stake, your name of your brand, and the market value. Again, the market value is basically intangible. So market value, trademark of the company, that cannot be like those are the values of your organization, that is known as intangible. And employees also come as an asset. So previously, again, sometime back, 20 years back, employees were not considered as an asset, but now as the time is moving, your employee, your faithful or your loyal employees are considered as an asset. So the HR also believe us as an asset. So those are the assets. Liability on the security person. For example, this is you, this is me. So what is a liability on us is the business continuity. There should be a business continuity plan. So if there is a business, for example, there was a disaster and there was a issue with the network, and for example, there was a data loss, a lot of data was lost, and your system got down and there was an outrage. So business continuity plan should be there. So in I will not go around, but there are some cold sites are there, warm sites are there, and hot sites are there, where everything is there. You just need to go over there and start working. So business continuity plans are there. And the legals, again, what are the legal terms, and what was the SLA, service level agreement, between the third parties. For example, ISP, you have signed any legal terms with the ISP, so that is again known as the, that comes under the liabilities. Data assets are the product development, production, fulfillment, and the maintenance. So data asset can be, again, this similar thing can be anything. That can be your can be anything regarding the financial operations control, or any of the payment, payroll, tax, financial reporting, customer contact. PII are one of the, that is known as the personal informations, are the PII are there, your health information, your personal information, your financial, your any of the reporting is there. uh, Legal obligation to maintain accurate records for the given period. So everything that comes under the umbrella of data asset. Even the contractual obligation to the third parties, that is again the SLA, that is normally signed by the ISPs with you. Like normally ISP give SLA to you that there will be 99% the traffic flow would be there, this much would be the bandwidth. So there can be contractual obligation. Normally we have a lot of issues with the ISPs, but again, that this all things come under the data assets. CIA. This is a huge topic, but I will just sum up quickly over here, not in detail, but try to clear up the basics of this. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. This stands for CIA. Confidentiality basically works with the authentication. Like confidentiality is your whatever the account details are, that should be confidential. Your data is. So over here, what we normally do, we do different type of the encryptions are being used. Well, if you are using any of the confidentiality. Integrity is the modification. We are normally using hash algorithm for the integrity. Hash files are there, SHA-256, and different type of the algorithms are there. But the integrity is to modify any of the data. For example, I send a file from one place to the other, from A to B. The A, when the file received to the B, but the file was basically modified. So that is the damage towards the integrity. So that's the understanding. Confidentiality of the file, but the integrity is the modification. Lastly is the availability. For example, your system get down, so you cannot reuse a file, so that is known as the availability. Every time the data should be available. Secondly, fourthly, non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is the email. For example, if you are emailing someone, for example, I'm emailing for example Shane, and in that scenario what happened, my signatures are there, that email was been given by me. That is the Outlook basically decide that my email ID Uzair at quick start email ID is my email ID. I cannot say that that email was not done by me. So that is known as non-repudiation. Like that email was done by me, and maybe that is 100% like that was me. But if I just came and went outside uh, for having lunch, so someone jumps to my chair and started type any email, so that was another scenario. But this is the authentication, that is you, that email was be sent by you, that is known as the non-repudiation clause. Security policies, commitment to secure working practices, risk risk assessment, tested documented procedures, security controls, and compliances. So the commitment security, like whatever your company, again it depends upon company to company, organizations to organizations, that how the security policies work. Commitment to secure working practices, so like whatever your practices are, working practices are, so that is like whatever there is, every company have their own working practices regarding the security. So for example, there's a call center, they have their different type of security policies. There is a financial company, for example banks are there. So in bank I normally deploy a lot of security devices in the banking environment. So over there we require DLP, data loss prevention should be there. There should be lot of important things. For example, there are credit card industries are there, health insurance are there, those type SSN numbers should be secured. So data loss cannot be there in a banking environment. So every company have their own security policies. Risk assessment is a huge topic, but to understand risk is everywhere. Risk is, for example, risk can be a physical risk can be there. For example, if your company is near any of the island and God forbid there is a tsunami coming over there, so that can be a risk. So the risk calculation varies as per the requirement. For example, again, there can be a terrorist attack, there can be a tsunami, there can be an earthquake, there can be a fire hazard. So there's a calculation of the risk, and the annual risk is count like in the whole year this was the risk. And normally in the summer, for example, if there is for example in winter there can be a very heavy rainfall or snowfall. So there can be a risk of damaging of anything. So there's a risk assessment while we are maintaining a security policy. Tested document procedures and security controls are everything is tested, documented, and obviously like the security or whoever is doing the security processes, so they basically document each and everything and test. Testing is done while like there are different type of the testing that can be done. uh, Trainings are important, trainings of the employees are important, so everything is done over there. Compliances are there. So compliances are basically compliance check, like none of the data, any of the data is being taken from one place to another. So the compliance checks is important. So again, the data loss comes in the domain of the compliance check. Okay. Oops. Okay. Vulnerability, threat, risk. Guys, important. Vulnerability, just be very clear, precise understanding vulnerability. Vulnerability is nothing, it is just the weakness that could be triggered accidentally. Never think that that vulnerability, again, in the starting, I told you about the 0-day attack. 0-day attack can be attack that is not even known to the developer. That's not the mistake of any security guy. Normally we have a lot of 0-day attacks in which we just send the files, star string of that files to a Telos cloud and checking the vulnerability. That's again a huge topic, but vulnerability is just the weakness. Normally we reduce the vulnerability while reducing the surface area of attack. Attacking surface, normally in our cybersecurity world we say that there's a surface area of attack, so we reduce that attack, we try to. But again, vulnerabilities can be intentional, can be unintentional, can be exploit, can, but they can be a security breach, no doubt about it. That is just a weakness. Threat threat is important, the potential for a threat agent or a threat actor to access that vulnerability. So whoever is practicing that vulnerability, that can be a threat. A threat is a vector that can be effective. For example, there is a person, for example, I will put my own example, that I am working for a company for 20 years and I was loyal to company. But someone, my boss, like for example, insulted me and I just took everything on my ego. So I can become a threat actor now. I can be a threat to the company now because I can damage some hardware. I can damage, for example, my laptop. I can breach the security. So threat can, and anyone can be a threat. That threat can be a threat actor, that can be you, can be me. So calculation of that is the job of the security person. I hope that this makes things clear. Risk, as I told you before, risk is nothing, it is just a risk can be calculated. It is just the likelihood and the impact or the consequences of an actor exercising a vulnerability. So risk can be, similar example, there is a risk of the heavy snowfall in December. This is a risk. Yes, this is a risk. That is a likelihood. Like in December, there's a huge possibility of having a snowfall. So that's a likelihood. So in that scenario, how we can reduce the risk? So we can have a maintained road, or whatever the what whatever whatever the preventions you can do, you can just reduce the risk of that heavy snowfall affecting your business. So that is a calculation that be done by using a risk, and likelihood or the impact is known as a risk. Control, whenever we are using a risk, so there's a, again, a terminology that comes control, a system or a procedure put in place to mitigate means reduce the risk. So for example, there was a uh, there is a company near any of the seaside or any of the island, so there's a risk of tsunami over there or earthquake over there or flood or anything. So what we do, we can create a multiple sites, a cold warm type of sites, like where you can move, or we can move a lot of our data towards cloud, to AWS. We can just create a bucket, S3 bucket in AWS, and we can just migrate our data towards AWS. And we can say the, or Azure, I will, because I've done AWS, so that's why I normally use AWS. So you can use Azure as well. So you can move your data towards the cloud. So what we are doing, we are controlling the risk, we are mitigating the risk now. Now these types are the now script kiddies, hackers, and hacktivists. There are a lot of people get confused with the hackers and the crackers and the attackers. Guys, just simple. Hackers are not the bad person. I'm also a hacker because I normally do pen testing. So I normally use a lot of softwares to get into the system. I get paid for this to check the system, like how the system is working, whether there are any loopholes, whether there is any vulnerability in the system. I'm using Wireshark over there. I'm using different type of Kali. For example, Linux, I'm using Kali to install lot of softwares. So hackers can be good. There can be a white hat cracker, white hat, black hat hackers are there. White hats are the good hackers. Black hats are the bad hackers who are using their skill set to gain some of the financial gains or blackmailing anything. So those are the types of the hacker. Crackers are who are using to break the crack the softwares, crack the hash algorithms, or they are also known as the attackers. Attackers and the crackers are one another same thing. They are the bad people. So the hackers are, they can be good hackers. White hat hackers are the pen testing one. Black hats are the people who are using those hacking skills to gain some of the cryptocurrency currency these days. Script Script kiddies and the new babies. Very simple. Script kiddies are the people who is just started the cybersecurity, or they started to learn some of the different languages and they started to implement just for fun. For example, high school kids are doing these things, and the new babies are also doing that. So why we are using these terms? Because their basically intentions are not to hurt anyone or not to get into the organization, but their intentions are just to tell people that yes, I know a lot about this stuff. Hacktivists are again the hackers. Opportunist. Organized crime. Organized crimes, again those are the paid people motivated by the different criminal profits, or operate across legal jurisdictions, can be very well resources and funded. So normally people are hiring. For example, I am a person, I don't like XYZ company, so I normally hire a hacker or an attacker. I say that okay, just reduce the name of this company, try to hurt their branding, try to hurt something, like try to buy someone. For example, insider threat is if I just go and I ask xyz employee that okay, I will pay you this much amount of money, now give me some useful information. So again, that comes under the security. Nation state and APT, advanced persistent threat. Highly sophisticated cyber weapons, espionage, and strategic advantage. So nation state is again, for example, there is a war between two nations, for example, US, China, Europe, Russia, any of the nations. They are hiring people, they are hiring different type of the clients, they are using different type of the people. Hackers try to get into the security, try to breach the security. FireEye, guys, this is the FireEye. I've worked a lot on FireEye, so this is also a good cybersecurity product. So APTs are the persistent attack. Again, very simple, because this is there can be 10 or 20 slides for APT, but over here just remember APT is persistent. Persistent mean like I will take 6 months to breach the security. I will take 20 months to breach the security. I will take 2 or 3 years to break the firewall. So this is the persistent. I will not stop. I will do everything. I will do a lot of things to get into that company, to get into that organization. So that is known as the advanced persistent threat. Malicious insider, as I told you a moment back, has had authorized access. So the person who is inside the company, employee, contractor, partners, anyone inside the company, you just buy them, you just give a lot of money so they can just give you some of the useful information. Sabotage financial gain, business advantages. So obviously, if I am a competitor, So I will hire someone to reduce the name of that organization. So these are the national these are the things normally people are doing still. Yes, they normally do. One of the huge and important topic that is known as social engineering. Social engineering attacks are the attacks. For example, I am calling someone in a call center of a bank. I try to basically try to, yeah, like there's someone sitting over there. For example, Jack is sitting. Hey, Jack, how are you? How's your day? I just call that guy for 20, 30, or 1 month or 2 months. I try to get friendly with him, try to get the human psychology, try. So if I got, so that's why when I am basically, that's hacking the human. So I try to be a friend to him and try to get some useful information, that what type of the firewall or what type of the organization structure is. So that is known as social engineering. So hacking a human or try to be friendly with the human, that is known as social engineering. There can be a lot of possible ways. It is just not only call center or help desk. You can uh, go personally over there, and you can ask someone that, hey, how are you, and blah blah blah. So you just try to be friendly. That's very quite simple. I believe that you should now get this. So many possible scenarios are there. There can be persuade a user to run a malicious file, contact a help desk and solicit information, gain access to premises and install a monitoring device. So normally people are getting paid and they are basically, again, a lot of money is required for this if you're also using, but this terminology is known as reconnaissance. Reconnaissance are there 5 things normally apart from this topic. So social engineering is not done like this. Reconnaissance is there, like you are going towards the media, you are going towards the Google, you start searching on the Google that what type of the company is there, finding the blueprints, finding anything, calling people, understanding. It takes a lot of months to get hacked, to start hacking someone. So that's a huge process. It doesn't look like, it looks simple, but it's huge. Reconnaissance is a term that is normally used when you are searching for any of the organization. Impersonation, dominating or charm targets into revealing information or providing access. So impersonation, again, like you're sitting over there, you're calling someone, help desk, anything. So that is known as impersonation. Exploit weak authentication over telephone or IM emails. So again, being friendly, finding a person who is weak, finding a person like if you can play with him, or the reason why this is happening because of lack of training. The people are not trained enough, so that's why they give information, useful information to the other person. So training is important. Reason Reasons for effectiveness is the familiarity, linking, consensus, social proving, authority, intimidation, scarcity, and urgency. So these are the different reasons effectiveness that can be done. Trust and surveillance. So dumpster diving. Okay, let's talk a bit about this now. Dumpster diving, guys. This is these terms are dumpster diving for information. Now, let's take an example of dumpster diving. So what happened? Like if you have written something on this sticky note, if you have written some password on your pen on paper, for example, if you have written something information useful password or any of the information that is not written that should not be written on a sticky note on the paper. So normally you just write anything on the paper and just throw it in the trash bin. So there is someone inside thread is there, so they will go and pick that paper, read that password or information. For example, HR guys are there, they have PII over there, and they have lot of payrolls are there. So if HR guy is using pen and paper and they're using some of information on the paper, so they just throw it in the bin. So for example, I myself, I will go over there, just pick that paper, check the if there is any of the password, username, anything that is useful for me, I will just use it. So that is known as dumpster diving for information. So you can go anywhere. You can go to the laptop as well. There are sticky notes. So somebody put their sticky note over there in the laptop screen that, okay, this is my password, this is my username, never do this. So someone comes over here, just check that and go away. That is also known as a dumpster diving. Shoulder surfing over here. Oops. Shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing is, for example, if you are going towards ATM machine, you just put the card. There's someone back in the line, and they comes to your shoulder and start checking your PIN number. So that is known as the shoulder surfing. So they normally it doesn't happen like that easily, but those people are very smart, so that can be done. So they just comes and just stand near you and just comes over here near your shoulder, see the PIN number, whatever the ATM number is, they just go and jump and they just take the password. So that is known as shoulder surfing. Lunchtime attack. Lunchtime, you are going to the lunch, eating something, and you left your laptop open, and you even didn't locked it. So that laptop is open and your login is there. Someone again inside thread. Guys, remember inside thread is very, very dangerous. So there's someone come, there was a person, he is jealous with you. They come and type some email to CEO. So that can be an attack as well. That is known as the lunchtime attack. Tailgating and piggybacking to gain entry. So sometimes there are two man traps are there. I will not go towards the man trap. Okay, just remember there is a door opening and someone put their RFD card and they just put it and there is someone attacker. They enter behind them. They enter quickly inside that gate. So that is known as tailgating. And the piggybacking is the similar thing, like you just enter into the gate. So dumpster diving, shoulder surfing, lunchtime attack, and tailgating and piggybacking attacks are again to gain the entry and to get everything is just there's a similar thing that this is to gain the access, get into the organization. Another attacks are there: phishing, whaling, phishing. Phishing attacks, guys, you must have seen lot of spam emails, phishing emails are there that, okay, you have won a wonderful prize, you have won this, or there's an email from Bank of America that, okay, you have to click this and go over there. So all those emails are known as phishing emails. So those are the spoof emails, fake emails, or any of they can link towards the hack websites. So that is known as phishing, using spoof electronic communication to trick a user into providing confidential information. So obviously, if you believe that there was a Bank of America, you go over there, you click it, you put your username, you put a password over there. So that can be a phishing email, can lead you to a hack over there. Spoof email, fake email, hack websites are there. Spear phishing or whaling. Spear phishing or whaling are the someone if you're targeting. For example, I receive an email. Those are also known as forged email. Whenever I deploy Cisco email security appliances or FireEye, so normally we have a lot of issues with this one, guys. You in the real world, in the real example world, these things are just theoretical. In the real world, normally we have forged email a lot. Like the email looks like the email is coming from the CEO, but that is if you go towards the email, so you won't finding any CEO. But because of the pressure, of CEO email, you can just give some of the useful information. So that is known as spear phishing or whaling. Targeting attacks, targeting senior management, executive or board of member. So CEO, member, board of member, anyone, because if they are giving an email to you, so that can be issue. This is whaling. And spear phishing is targeting the CEO directly. Like for example, I am the hacker, I will target CEO directly. So that is known as whaling. Phishing, just like phishing over here, this is done by the emails. Phishing is done by the phone. For example, I give a call to someone in the organization, tell them that, okay, I am Mr. XYZ, do it right now and give me your credit card number, whatever. So that is a phishing attack. That can be voice over IP, or that can be done on the instant messenger as well. So that is the IM is known as spam emails, or spamming is also, that is also known as spam. Farming, hoaxing. Farming is the redirection. Farming is like when you click something and you are redirected to a website, and that website is basically a fake website. So that is known as the farming. Water holding, like there are a lot of a group of people are being targeted, and they are targeted, like for example there is a group of people and they are, their job is for example for of marketing, so they are marketing one of the product, so they are going towards a single website. So the hacker comes, create that website again under different name, and lot of people traffic over there, so they can be hacked. Hoax is another similar thing. Social engineering and attack troubleshooting. So this is again, we have troubleshooting for each and everything, but one of the effective method is this one, guys. Just remember, this one is very important. If you are towards the any of the management job, any of the higher jobs, so remember, train your employees always. This is a job of the security person and including the HR team and the security team, is that's a joint venture. So normally education of the employees is important if you are talking about the social engineering attack only. Right now, social engineering attack, because if the help desk guy is talking to someone and he is not well enough trained, he is not well enough knowing that okay, I should not cross this limit, this is my boundary. For example, that is a banking call center and there's someone sitting and they can breach some security, provide some account details to someone unwanted. So that is again, those lines are recorded, but again, the training is important. Training is very important. Education of the employees is important. Normally this is the biggest mistake our organizations are doing, and they are not training the employees accurately. Policy and standard procedures. So SOPs, policies, again, those are the terms are there while you are signing a contract. AUPs are there, NDAs are there. The NDA is a non-disclosure agreement that is been signed, that you will not breach any of the security, and NDA is again important thing whenever we are talking about the HR normally sign an NDA. Confidential information is not being breached or leaked by anyone. AUPs are there, or there are lot of agreements are there, policies are there. Accounting, auditing, and surveillance. Accounting, auditing, guys, again, one of the important thing accounting and auditing is that normally our IT guys like us, I will not tell you guys, but by myself I will tell you that like us, like me for example, we forget to, for example, there was an account of Jack. For example, Jack was a person, he left the company. I didn't close the account. I should close the account, Active Directory account, email account, access to everything at the same day. When the person is leaving the company, this is the last day, last minute, when he exits the organization, the same day I need to close all of the accounts. Auditing, surveillance is important. Surveillance also is included, just like the CCTVs are there, closed circuit televisions are there. CCTVs are important. Again, if someone is using a lunch day, break day attack, shoulder surfing, dumpster diving, tailgating, anything, like anything is a, so surveillance CCTV footages are always be there in the organization, such that no one can do anything and everything is recorded. Everything is there in the database, so you can just review the recording afterwards. Computer virus is COVID-19 coronavirus. So virus is a term like these days is very common. So computer virus rely on some sort of a host file. So virus, I know, like mostly everyone understand now the virus is any of the exe file that is be run and run by yourself, and that can affect the whole system. Mostly in Microsoft we have lot of virus, antiviruses are there, so that affect the system. So boot selectors, program executives, scripts, macros are normally done in the Microsofts. Now in the world we are using macros, and the macros, I normally create lot of filters in our appliances, in our Palo Alto appliances, in which macros are being detected. So macros containing viruses. Infection rate, effective software exploit, effective at getting users to execute the virus. So normally again, the lack of training, the person should be trained enough that okay, if you receive any unwanted email, please don't open that email, please don't open that attachment. 90% next generation firewalls are stopping this, but if there is a zero day attack, if there's something missed, so the employees should also be trained enough that they should not open any of the unwanted device, any of the unwanted attachment or any of the email. So the payload is affected in the virus. Worms are similar to the viruses. They are also virus. They're worm, but they are triggered by themselves. They don't require any human interaction. So this is the core difference between worm and a virus. So the worm can be a time bomb, can also be there, that there's a time like after this time of a specific minute, that worm will be triggered and that can exploit the system, and that can exploit the operating system, and that can affect the whole system. Propagate in a memory over network links, consume bandwidth. So this is important. When I back in at, back around 10 years back, maybe. So normally whenever we were at that time, 10 years back, there was not a huge technology. Microsoft Word, I'm talking about the Microsoft Word. So normally when we used to troubleshoot any of the Microsoft computer or laptop at that time, so normally we check the consumption of the CPU. If the CPU is having like 90% all the time, so definitely it was hitting a virus. So you just need to reinstall each and everything. I'm outdated of Microsoft now, but you need to reinstall the Windows again. So that was one of the examples that normally we had. So guys, moving forward now, Trojan, bots, rats, backdoor. Trojan, one of the most important and one of the most important topic, but this is just content one slide, but this is a huge topic. Trojan horses, you must have heard about Trojans, rats, Trojan and a remote access Trojan. So the Trojan is a file attachment. It looks like a normal attachment. So you just click that attachment and you install something. You don't know that you have installed something, and it will not affect your system directly. It looks like that system is running fine, but there is a Trojan horse in your system. So, and that specific exe file, for example, that exe file is now installed in your system and you are unaware of it. So now what this exe will do, this Trojan will start working after some time, and it will open a backdoor. This is a backdoor will be open. A backdoor will be open for who? The backdoor will be open for the attacker, that okay sir, I have done my job, now it's your turn. So the back door is open, this door is open for them, and after that, when this door is open, over here the hacker or the attacker, a black hat hacker, guys, hacker will get into the system. Sorry guys, sorry for this, but I hope that you understand. So the hacker is now entering into the system now. This computer is affected now. Backdoor is open of this specific system, and now this hacker is reaching this system. Now this system is connected to lot of different systems now. There are, for example, the whole network is connected over here. So for example, there is 10 or 20 PCs. So now this hacker will control this system, and it will affect few more systems. So this whole system will be considered as a net. This is not as a botnet. So botnet over here, this is known as a botnet. I hope that this must be clear a bit, that just remember, you receive an email, attachment was there, you click that attachment, that is installed. You don't know nothing now. Now this attachment will open a backdoor. A backdoor is being opened by the hacker, for the hacker, and this backdoor is giving access to this laptop. This laptop, now the hacker is in the network, and this system is affected. Now this system is affected. Now this hacker will jump to this system and this system, and it will create its own botnet, or you can say zombies is also a term that has been used. So the term is known as command and control CNC or C2. So the whole network can be affected. So when you're done with this, when you create a botnet, so now what you can do, you can create a DOS attack, and that can affect directly your server. So botnet can be very dangerous. So a malicious program concealed within a Bing one, many are designed to provide convert surveillances to control an infected host. Botnet, it looks like this. Backdoors may be opened by the malicious software or from the configuration oversight. So you cannot understand this, but that has been done like a lay person who don't understand the security, so they will definitely affected by system. And the botnet is very dangerous because it has opened the backdoor of the hacker, and it is affecting the rest of the network. And the job is the CNC, that is known as command and control. So I am the boss now. So this is the one of the attacks you can say. Spyware, adware, and the keyloggers. So the spyware, guys, spyware is allow attackers to record system configuration and user action. So this is similar to the Trojan horse, but this is not creating any botnet. But what it is doing, it is creating a spyware that is being installed on your PC, and it is just spying your system and giving the useful information, just like similar over here using the backdoor. But it is not affecting or infecting other system, but it is just using the actions what that person is doing. How you can check? You can use just Google something and you just find keyloggers. Keyloggers are you will find some softwares. Actual keylogger is a software, so you can just check by your own self. You just install it. So whatever you type, so that typing would be saved in the keylogger, so you can just get the password. You can just check like the what that person is doing and what that affected PC or that person is using, some of the password or banking information, screenshots, and everything can be traced using the keylogger. So the spyware is just like the Trojan, but it is not affecting, but it is using a keylogger to get into the system, spy the system, get the user information, and get out. That's it. Don't affect anything, don't infect anything. Just use the system for the useful information. That's the spyware. Adware. So normally there is a pop-up in when you're using any Android mobile phone, or there is a pop-up and there's an ad. So never click that ad. That is also known as a hoax. So adware is a record some user activity, but to lesser than extent that is spyware. Use cookie to deliver targeted ads, and normally whenever you are clicking, so you just click some of the adware, so that can install some of the infected virus or malware. Rootkit. Rootkit is basically replacing key system files and neutrality. I don't want to again go down a lot over here, but the rootkit is basically in a virtual network. There is also a rootkit that is installed in the kernel. So that is very, very powerful, that operate with the system and the kernel level privileges, just like the VM can be an example over here that replaces. But rootkit is not affecting your network until and unless that has been installed by someone intentionally and they are using that system for intentional purpose. So that is directly connected to the kernel level privileges, and that's a very, very uh, hardcore attack. Ransomware. Guys, you must have heard about WannaCry. This was one of the attack late in 2016, I believe. Yeah, this was attack being done, WannaCry, and that attack asked for some money. So whole network gets down, and one of the pop-up screen jumps in, and you cannot use your laptop, you cannot use your system, you cannot use your server, but this screen jumps in front of you, this whole screen, that okay, oops, your files have been encrypted. So that means now you have to unencrypt, or you have to give some money using the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a cryptographic currency, so you're using some of the currency and they will ask some money using cryptography. So you transfer some amount of money, and then they give your system back. So that is known as ransom. So they are asking for the ransom money, so that is known as a ransomware or a crypto malware. Nuisance lockout. uh, Lockout user by replacing shell, serious encrypted data files or drive, and logic bombs. Logic bombs, guys, in the previously I told you about a bit about the logic bombs, that the logic bombs are similar, just like a worm. So but they basically are activated after some time, so they are also known as a time bomb and the logic bombs. So ransomware, crypto malware, and the logical bombs are there.